Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to How to Upgrade to Conga Composer Release 8 webinar. In this webinar, we will review some helpful information for you to know for your upgrade to Conga Composer Release 8. I'm Teresa Bowerly, and I'll be the moderator for this session. Before we get started, I just wanted to point out that the webinar is slated to last for about 30 minutes. We do have a lot of registrants, so everyone's phones will be on mute. If you do have questions, please submit them online. We may not get to all of your questions, but we'll answer as many as we can during the FAQ section. Any questions that we do not get to, we will post to our knowledge base. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll also make the recording available within a few days on our YouTube channel and in our knowledge base. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm pleased to introduce Shelley Houlihan, who will be taking you through this session. Shelley has over 5 years of experience here at Conga. She's looking forward to sharing with you some helpful tips for your upgrade to Conga Composer Release 8. Shelley?
Thank you, Teresa. And as she mentioned, I'm so excited to be on the webinar today and talk with you all about our latest release, which we're calling Release 8, and how to upgrade from your current version of Conga Composer to this latest release. So you might be wondering what is in the new release or why we're having a new release of Conga Composer. First off, we do small releases consistently throughout the year. I shouldn't really say releases, but more like improvements and upgrades. So Conga Composer is always getting tiny little tweaks and polishes. You can think of it as maybe like regular Botox throughout the year, but it's only a couple of times a year that we do a major release where she goes in and gets a full facelift. And this facelift is a really big one, and facelift is a good analogy because part of what's in this new release is a brand new user interface. Which is really exciting. I'll show you guys a bit about that in a few moments. And we also have a new and improved template builder. So it makes building your templates a lot more streamlined, a lot more intuitive, and a lot less clicking around. It's more of a drag and drop or an easy copy paste. There is definitely an increased speed. Your solutions should run a lot faster, so that's always exciting. We also have email editor enhancements and a fun new integration with Google Drive. So unfortunately, we don't have time today to go through all of these features. We just wanted to give you a bit of a taste of what's in it. If you are interested in learning about the new features and how they work, then I would definitely recommend checking out our What's New in Conga Composer Release 8 webinar, which is stored in our webinar archive on our website, congamerge.com. Okay, so before we get started, I want to talk about some considerations for upgrading. So I'm going to talk through these first, just through our PowerPoint, and then once we're done discussing them, I'll go into a browser and show you guys what these look like in more of a live manner. So our first consideration for upgrading, I'm sure many of you are wondering how the Release 8 will affect your current Conga solutions. The good news is that you can upgrade to Release 8 and everything that you have from your previous version of Conga, whether that's you've been a customer since 2007 or you just installed a couple of months ago, everything will work. So it's what we call fully backward compatible, meaning all of your old solutions will still work in the new release. There are a couple of tweaks you may need to make in order to enjoy things like that new user interface, and I'll show you those again in a couple of moments. We also have, whoops, let me go back. Actually, this is an important one to stop on. So we do have a very important note. You do not want to uninstall your current version of Conga Composer before you upgrade. You're going to do what we call a package upgrade, which is just going to the App Exchange and installing the new version right over your current one. And Salesforce will recognize this again as a package upgrade. So what that means is that you won't lose any of the work that you've already built out with Conga. So it'll just add in all of the new components and upgrade your features without losing all the work you've done in the past. So that's a very important note to remember. Okay, so sorry, I should have pulled up this slide a minute ago, but this is just talking about how it's going to affect your current solution. The other piece that we want to mention is that it's not required to upgrade to the Release 8. I would definitely encourage you to do so. It's totally free, which is great. How many things in life are free? Um, but we will eventually push all customers to the new release, and that date has not been determined. And once we do that, we will definitely communicate that to the entire customer base. So currently it's an optional upgrade, but I, again, would encourage you to do so. It's always best practice to be on the latest release, so you definitely want to do that. Um, when we do push all customers to the new release, you won't have to do anything for that. We just make an update to our servers that basically redirects everyone to run on the new release. Okay, so our next consideration for upgrading is if you're using any of our add-on products, which are Conga Conductor and Conga Workflow. So just as a reminder, Conga Conductor is our batch processing tool where you can run your Composer solutions in batches rather than one at a time, and optionally can do so on a scheduled basis. Conga Workflow is the ability to initiate Composer solutions on a workflow or event-triggered basis. So using a Salesforce workflow rule to trigger Conga Composer instead of doing so manually via button or link. The reason we want to hold off on Conductor and Workflows because those products are also getting an update for Release 8, but it's not quite ready yet. The development team is still working out the last few little pieces, so they should be ready in the next week or two. But until those are ready, we want customers who are using those products to just wait to upgrade Composer. Just hold off. You're just going to wait a couple of weeks. It's also a good time to mention the release date for Release 8 is Monday, April 21st. So that is this coming Monday. And that will be very early in the morning. So as soon as you get to the office, if you are just eager beaver, you can get right on the App Exchange and upgrade. So again, that's Monday, April 21st that Release 8 will be available, but Conductor and Workflow, Release 8 will not be available for a couple of weeks. So if you are using one or both of those solutions, we encourage you to hold off and just wait to upgrade. Okay, another consideration that we have is regarding Conga Mail Merge. And what happens is in Release 8, the Conga Mail Merge tab has been repurposed for a new facility called Conga Resources. So once you upgrade, you will no longer see your Conga Mail Merge tab. This is not a problem. All you have to do is go to our website, congamerge.com, and separately install Conga Mail Merge. The reason you have to go through these steps is with the Release 8, we've simply made Conga Mail Merge a separate add-on to Conga Composer at no charge. So previously, if you'd use things like Query Manager or Conga Quick Merge links, those were separate add-ons at no charge. We've now changed Mail Merge to be that way as well. And if you all aren't familiar with Conga Mail Merge, it's just a separate facility that used to be within the Conga Composer application where you could do a true mail merge process, so like a direct mail campaign perhaps, where you can print a batch of letters, labels, envelopes, using Word templates. So a lot of our nonprofit customers use that facility, and if you are using that and you upgrade to Release 8 and you find that your tab is missing, like we talked about, don't fret. All you have to do is go install it from our website, but rest assured that all of your mail merge solutions are still within your Salesforce instance. You haven't lost any of that. It's just you have to get your tab back, essentially. So no negative effect to your existing solutions. It's just you have to go get your tab back so that you'll be able to navigate over to Conga Mail Merge. Okay, so another note is about Conga Query Manager. It used to be, like I just mentioned, a separate add-on to Composer that we offered at no charge. It's a custom object that will store your SOCL queries. So many of you are probably using Salesforce reports to retrieve data to use in your Composer solution. SOCL queries are simply another way to gather data from Salesforce. And if you're using SOCL queries, you'll definitely have the Conga Query Manager. The version that we're upgrading to, again, Release 8, includes Query Manager as part of the application. So we've added in Query Manager, we've taken out Conga Mail Merge. We're just finding that a lot more people are using queries and less people are using Mail Merge. So that's kind of the reasoning there. If you already have Conga Query Manager installed, after you upgrade, you will see a second or duplicate tab for Conga Query Manager. And that's just sort of a funny little thing that Salesforce does, is that once you make something a part of a package, you have to have a separate sort of version of the tab. So that's why there are two of them. There's just not a way to sort of merge those tabs into one. So again, if you already have Conga Query Manager and you upgrade to Release 8, you'll see two of those. There's no problem with having two. I'll show you the way to easily distinguish one from the other. What I would recommend is keeping both tabs, and this is best practice as you know, communicated by our development team. It's pretty tricky. It can be kind of error prone to move all of those query records from one Query Manager tab to the new one. So what I would recommend, they're exactly the same in functionality. It's just that one tab has a different icon associated to it, and it comes with the package now. So just keep all of your query records in your old tab. Continue to use that one. You can hide the new tab if you want to, but don't delete it. Just keep both tabs. It makes things easier. If you are really concerned and you want to migrate all of your queries to the new Query Manager tab, you can contact our support team if you need assistance with doing that, because like I said, it can be a little bit tricky. Okay, the next thing I want to discuss is Conga email templates. So you may not be aware of Conga email. It's a feature that we've had in the product for about 1.5 or 2 years, but not that many people are using it, I find. So I always like to highlight that it's available. It's not anything that you have to install separately. It's within the Conga Composer package, and it's free of charge. So always a good thing to check out. Conga email is the ability to merge your Salesforce data directly into the body of an email rather than to a document that then can be attached to an email. So a lot of cool functionality there. The previous releases of Conga Composer, so up through Composer 7, which is what you see here on the left image, C7 email, used Salesforce email letterheads. So you all might have used those if you're using Salesforce for a lot of email or marketing, mass email, that kind of thing. But you can see this sort of sunset picture up at the top is the letterhead allows for you to put a logo or some sort of image at the top. This is what the Conga email looked like in the previous releases. We found that wasn't really the best way to handle it. It wasn't working exactly like we wanted it to, so we've made an upgrade in Composer 8, and you now do not have to use that letterhead. So it's a lot more streamlined. You can see here on the right, it's just a bit simpler. But if you're someone who was previously using Conga email and really liked that letterhead facility, we do have a parameter fix where you can revert back to that. And it's just what you see here on the third bullet point, ampersand email letterhead ID equals, and then you'll simply plug in the Salesforce ID associated to your particular letterhead. So if you have questions about that, again, we can talk about that offline. If you contact our support team, we're happy to provide more details there. Okay, and then lastly, because we now have a couple of different versions of the product, some people might still be on what we call Conga Composer 7, which is anything prior to this Release 8. And now we have the new version, Conga Composer Release 8. We've tweaked our website a bit, so I wish I could show this to you all live and in person, but we are not launching this obviously until Monday when we have the launch, and it makes sense that people can pick which product they're using. So there is a little reminder here. You can see the different user interfaces of 8 on the left, is sort of that cleaner UI. You'll see that a bit larger in just a moment when we go through this live. And then Conga Composer 7 has a bit of that more orange interface and gray. And then it goes through MailMerge, our other app Courier, and our Conga Composer add-ons. So what I love about this, it's really easy to navigate. You just find the appropriate release or product that you're using, and then down below we have a standard set of links. So quick starts are a great place to get started if you're new to Conga. Documentation brings up all of our PDF guides and knowledge base, and then webinars, videos. And the Get It Now links are take you to the App Exchange if you need to install any of those products. Okay, so I know we went through that a bit quickly, but really I think the most compelling part of our webinar is going to be seeing this all live and in person. So I'm just going to exit out of our PowerPoint here, and I'll bring over my internet browser. So this is just a demonstration environment that I have of Salesforce. If you've used these before, I'm sure you're very familiar with good old Burlington textiles. And you'll see that I've got my Conga button here. It's invoice. So if I click that, just to give us a reminder, this is what the current user interface looks like. It's sort of the orange and gray with your templates in the middle and all of your options down below. And if I jump over to my All Tabs view that I'd opened previously, you can see all of the different Conga components. So we have About Conga Composer, Conga Email Templates, Conga Mail Merge, Queries, Conga Setup, and Conga Templates V5. This is another one that will be slightly different in the new release. You're just going to see the tab lose the V5 on its name. So what we want to do when we're ready to upgrade is, again, keep all of this in here because you don't want to lose like your button, all of the templates you've built, and so forth. So what we're going to do is just install right over our current version. So I think the easiest way to do that is within Salesforce, just click your force.com drop-down menu and go to the App Exchange. And then just scroll down. We're always in the most popular apps thanks to you guys and your rabid support of us. And then just find Conga Composer with the little green O. Click More. It'll take you to our listing, and then all you have to do is click Get It Now. Okay, and then log into the App Exchange. You have credentials. So unfortunately, I can't do the full live version through the actual App Exchange because we don't have the release 8 live on the App Exchange yet. It's still version 7.2. So I'm just going to show you guys, I'm going to take you as far as I can. Just make sure you accept our terms and conditions, confirm, and install. And then it'll have you log in. Okay, so, and then the next page that you'll see is it confirms that it's a package upgrade. So that's what you want to see. If you're seeing new install, stop and give us a call. Something's gone wrong. You should always see a package upgrade, unless you're doing this in like a sandbox or something where you didn't previously have Composer installed. So you'll see the version name and version number are 7.2. Anything with a 7, no bueno. That's the current version. We want the upgrade, the new release, release 8. So what I'm going to do, kind of like a cooking show, I have kind of the beta install link that I'm just going to plug in here instead, kind of like a cooking show where you swap out your beautiful dish right at the end. And now you'll see it still says package upgrade. It recognizes that I already have Conga Composer and I'm simply upgrading to the new release, but you'll notice the version number is 8.1. So you should see when you do your upgrade on Monday something with an 8. I believe it's 8.0 in the live version. I think this is just because I have the beta that it's 8.1, but definitely look for an 8. And then it'll just go through the package components. The rest of this is just your standard App Exchange app install process or upgrade for us. So then the API access, just click Next. And this is kind of an important component. On step 2, choose security level. It will default to this grant access to admins only. As a best practice, I highly encourage you to select this second option, grant access to all users. So that's what I'm going to do here. The reason being that if you grant access to admins only, the rest of your user base is not going to have access to any of the Conga components, and it's a lot more cumbersome to have to go in and grant access to all the various custom objects and fields than to restrict it if you need to do so. And then lastly, I'm just going to click Install. So sometimes if Salesforce is really busy, this can take a couple of minutes, and if that's going to be the case, you'll get that notification that I'm sure you have all seen before from Salesforce that says, we're installing your package, this could take a few minutes. You'll receive an email when we're finished, and then you usually get an email within a couple of minutes. Most of the time though, this only takes about 30 seconds or a minute, and it'll just cycle through. As long as your browser is loading, then it's working. So we'll just have to be patient here for a second, and then we should get our confirmation that our package has been upgraded, and then we'll show you guys how the components look a bit different in the new package. Really should give you like a candy bar or a game to play while you have to wait for this to install. Sometimes Salesforce just takes a moment. Okay, there we go. So you're looking for your nice green check with install complete, and then that confirms that you've got the new version. The other thing that you might want to check out is your current version number, again 8.1. The first installed version number is 7.2. If you're, again, a customer who's been with us for a very long time, first of all, thank you. And second of all, you might have a really different number here, something like 1.1, 1.7. There's a lot of ones, so don't worry if you were in the ones, you're fine, but now you'll be in the eights. Okay, so if we go back to our opportunity record, I'm going to refresh that page just because we've done the package upgrade since then. And what you'll notice is that when I click my invoice button, it's still loading that older user interface. So unfortunately, Salesforce upgrades are not quite smart enough where it can upgrade all of your buttons for you. But this is an easy thing to fix if you want to get on the new user interface, which I would recommend just because it's really cool. Just go into Setup, find where your button is. Mine was on Opportunities. I'm going to open Buttons, Links, and Actions. And then you'll see now a Conga Composer installed button. It's the one that has the blue arrow next to it, which just indicates it's part of the managed package. So if you click that, just highlight and copy this, what we call the base URL, which is just this HTTPS through your record ID, which in my case is Opportunity ID. I'm just going to go back a screen and then find my invoice button, edit this. Let me paste this down below so you guys can easily compare the two. You'll see that the old URL starts with this www.appextremes. If you remember, the name of our company used to be AppExtremes instead of Conga, apps, Conga, and so forth. The new one is a lot simpler. It's just composer.congamerge.com. So that's really what you're looking for. But I'm just going to, again, highlight that whole thing, cut it. You'll see that I have a template ID parameter down at the bottom. We want to keep that. So I'm just going to paste over those first 4 lines of the base URL is what we call it. So HTTPS, session ID, ampersand server URL, and ampersand ID equals. Paste over, and you can see I've got that composer.congamerge.com. Save your changes, and then if we go back to that opportunity, refresh one more time because you made a change in the setup menu, and then click your invoice button. Doesn't it look nice? I love this. So clean, fresh, really easy. So on Monday, it won't have beta against it. I had to have that because, again, I use the beta install link. The templates are a little bit different, just how you access your Salesforce templates versus your local templates. There's all sorts of new features over here. Unfortunately, again, we don't have enough time to go through these, but I would highly encourage you check out that other webinar recording that we mentioned earlier, What's New in Release 8, and you can learn all about these features. Okay, so the other thing is let me close some of these tabs for you all. Let's go to our All Tabs view, and you'll see that some of these are a bit different. So anything that's in the new package that got added in has this green Conga O logo that I'm trying to highlight right here, this guy. So this is our new Conga Queries tab. Remember how I said it would be really easy to distinguish one from the other? It is, as long as you're looking in this All Tabs view where they have the icons. So the old one is your compass icon, the new one is the Conga O. So what you could do is just go into your profile and hide the new tab if you wish, and then just continue to use the old one. Again, like I said, they're exactly the same functionality wise. There hasn't been an upgrade. It's just this new one is part of the package. You'll also notice that our poor little Conga Mail Merge tab disappeared. We don't have that anymore. It should be in with all this Conga stuff. So what you would do is just go to our website, congamerge.com, go to the support tab or page, and then again, this is the part that's going to look different on Monday, but there'll be a section for installations where you can install Conga Mail Merge and get your tab back. The other way that's really easy to do that is if you use your Conga Resources tab. there's this nice notice right at the top. Notice to customers upgrading from release 7, Conga Mail Merge has moved. It's now a separate private managed package. And then these are hyperlinks for installing in production or if you're using a sandbox. So it'll just take you right there. While we're here, this resources tab is a great way to get more information about Conga in general. So if you're new, they'll sort of guide you how to configure the app. We have this quick start section in green that shows you short guides and videos on our knowledge base, tips and tricks. Here's the webinars. These are all really great resources, so I would encourage you to check those out when you have time. And then we go through this what's new section as well. So this is all of the stuff that's new in release 8 that you can go through as well. So I'm going to take a quick break here so we can see if we have a few questions we have time to answer. The biggest thing, you guys, go ahead and upgrade because it's free and everybody loves something free and it's really cool. You can see there's even just the scratching of the surface that we've done here. There's a lot of cool new stuff. Hold off if you're using Conductor workflow. You should only have to wait a couple of weeks. And then the other biggest thing is do not uninstall your current version before you upgrade. So, Teresa, do we have any questions? We have a few minutes we could answer here.
Sure, and you might have covered some of these, but we'll just kind of repeat them just so everyone can just kind of hear things again. But so one person was asking, will any of my current Conga solutions be altered in order to work with Conga Composer Release 8?
So great question. We did cover this sort of briefly at the beginning of the call. So Composer Release 8 is what we call backward compatible. So upgrading to the new release means that all of your current solutions that were built before you had Release 8 will still work exactly the same. The only thing that you might want to change is how I showed you guys how I went into my Conga button on the opportunity and updated the URL so that I can have that new user interface. But if you're fine with the old user interface, then you can keep those as is. So that's the only consideration you might want to take. But other than that, everything will work just the same.
Okay, and do you need to install both a version both in production and your sandbox?
If you're using a production and a sandbox instance, then yes, you will need to install separately. Installing just in the production org will not automatically update your sandbox. So there will be, it's really easy to install in sandbox. Just when we were going through the App Exchange upgrade process, remember how it asked me which environment I want to install in, and I selected production. You would simply choose the other one that prompts you for sandbox, and then you just take it from there. The rest of the steps are exactly the same. So it's right here. Install in sandbox is what you would select instead of production.
Okay, and then for people using quick merge links, do they have to do anything different?
Oh, great question. So Quick Merge Links is another one of those free add-ons for those of you who aren't familiar with it. You can see I have it installed here in my demonstration environment. It's this Quick Merge Links. This is not being updated or changed at all with Composer Release 8. So if you already have it in your instance, then you can just leave it be and it'll work exactly the same. You don't need to make any changes. Eventually we would like to update Quick Merge Links, but unfortunately it did not make it into this particular release. So if you're using that, you're totally fine. You just leave it as is. It'll continue working exactly as it has been.
Okay, and then someone was asking, can you show one more time how to update the button again, or can you show us where to get the new URL?
Oh, yes. Okay, good. Sorry, I went through that a bit quickly. So great question. You're going to your Salesforce setup menu, and then because I was using a button on an opportunity, I'm going to navigate to the opportunity object. So customize, opportunities, buttons, links, and actions. Of course, if you're using a custom object, you would go to create and then objects and find your particular object. You're just going to go to the buttons, links, and actions section, and then you should see this Conga Composer button with the blue arrow next to it. This is not going to show up on standard objects because Conga isn't aware of what, or excuse me, it's not going to show up on custom objects. Conga is not aware of what custom objects you have before it gets installed. So this is only going to show up on standard objects like lead, account, opportunity. If you're using a custom object, it's the same process. Just come in here, find this guy, click on it, and just highlight and copy this button or link URL, and then go to your button, your custom button that you are using, edit this, and just paste over this section the first 4 lines. So just ignore this template ID parameter that I have in mind. If you are using a custom object and you've gone and gotten your base URL from the Composer Manage button like we just did, and it plugs in that standard object ID name like Opportunity ID, all you have to do is delete that just from the one curly brace to the other, so you're left with just ampersand ID equals, and then whatever object you are on, let's say, for example, if contract was a custom object, just as an example, you would go down on custom objects. It'll be under record ID because contract is actually a standard object. Then Salesforce shows it as contract ID. But you're just going to find the appropriate ID for whatever object you're going to place your button on. So it should be really straightforward, but if you guys have any questions about that, then let us know. The only thing that can be a little bit tricky is, again, if you're using a custom object, you just have to replace that ID. But for most of the standard objects, you can just go find the Conga Composer button. It's, again, the first 4 lines, and you just paste it in. So one more time, if we go back to buttons, links, and actions, just look for Conga Composer. It has the blue arrow next to it. The one you do not want to use unless you are ready to use OAuth, which is Open Authorization, just ignore this button. This is a release 8 that's a really cool new functionality that leverages Salesforce's OAuth capability, but if you're upgrading an old button, you want to go with this one. You can learn more about OAuth in that webinar recording that we talked about earlier, what's new in Release 8.
Okay, and quickly, can you show everyone how to get to that webinar on the webinar archive, the What's New in Release 8?
Yes, Teresa, you might have to help direct me because Teresa is the webinar expert. But I believe you go to our website, support, and then is it this one, Teresa, the webinar archive? Yep. Okay. So we go here, and then it is...
Should be in that, maybe towards the bottom.
Okay. These take about a day or two to get posted, so I don't know if this one is on yet.
Yeah, let's see. I think it's that first one, Congo Composer
Oh yeah,
Release
here
8
we go.
Preview.
I'm sorry, yes, here it is. Teresa found it. So on the webinar archive page, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you're looking for this advanced topics heading, and then it's this one, Conga Composer Release 8 Preview, and then we give you a little description. But it's 30 minutes, and it would be well worth your time if you're interested in learning more about those features. And then if you guys do have specific questions about your current solution and if it will be at all affected or how to upgrade buttons, then after you've watched the webinar, just give a shoot an email to support@congamerge.com, and our support team is more than happy to help you.
Okay, great. I think that's all the time we have for questions.
If you do have any other questions, feel free to email those again to support@congamerge.com, and we can get those answered for you as well.
Okay, well, great. Thanks so much, Shelley, for walking us through all that. If you don't have anything else to share, I think we are ready to wrap up for the day.
Yes, thanks everyone for attending, and we're really excited for Release 8, so I hope you'll upgrade on Monday.
Great, thank you. Good job.